You're listening to Hurry, the Movie is Starting podcast.
Hello and welcome. My name is Richard and I am joined here with
Ash
and Austin.
And today we are going to be talking, finally, Deadpool Wolverine. I know it's been a while since we've been on the podcast. Things are going a little crazy. But we are back here talking about Deadpool Wolverine, one of the most overrated, terrible... No, I'm just joking. So we're going to do things a little bit differently today. We are going to jump into first our spoiler-free review, just in case anyone wants to listen to this. Decide if they want to go watch the movie and then go watch it and then come back and listen to this, or if they just want to listen to this, or if they just, I don't know. I don't know, but we're going to do spoiler-free first. So let's just jump right into it. Spoiler-free review. Ash, what's your spoiler-free review?
Can I give a review without spoiling it is the question. It was a 10, that I will say. And you're going to be laughing your butts off the entire 2.5 hours that you're going to be in the theater.
I'm not going to lie, I was kind of hoping it was be a little bit longer, but 2.5, yeah, 2.5 hours. Austin, what about you? What was your spoiler-free review? Ash said it was a 10 and that she was laughing the whole time.
It was definitely 10. A lot of laughter, and the action was perfect. So, definitely a 10 for sure.
Yeah, if you're going into this movie looking for like lots of blood and lots of action, you're gonna probably love this movie because it gives you a lot of that. I mean, we're not strangers to that in the Deadpool universe, as he's the character that kind of goes above and beyond with these. But it's the first time seeing it under the Disney guise, and it's weird. But the jokes about Disney were just... There were lots of jokes about Disney.
This is one Disney movie you should not take your kids to. It's not kid appropriate, this movie.
Yeah, unless they're like 13 or 14-year-old kids that like blowing things up. Okay, so Ash thought it was a 10. Austin thought it was a 10. Okay, I'm not going to be as generous. I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was a great tribute to 20th Century Fox and like the old Marvel movies before they got converted into Disney. I think it was a great tribute for that. As a fan of those characters and those like movies and yeah, it was basically movies. I loved all the cameos and everything that I'm not going to spoil anything. I just loved the cameos that it showed in this movie, and I feel like it paid off tribute to us, the fans. I feel like if you're not really a fan, or if you're not knowledgeable that much, maybe not even knowledgeable, but if you're just not much of a fan of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe or like the old 20th Century Fox X-Men Marvel movies or whatever, this movie might not be as enjoyable to you because it focuses mainly around, as you see in the trailer, Deadpool and Wolverine, but it goes a little bit deeper than that, and it gets a little bit more Easter eggy than that. But I can't really say much without spoiling the movie. Story-wise, I thought it was solid. I thought it did good, like being meta, but I also think it kind of, towards the end, it kind of just was like, okay, we ran out of time, we got to finish this up. Which, again, I do not love. And that's my only complaint about this movie. And I'll get more into the spoiler talk. But other than that, it was funny. Action was great. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, fantastic chemistry as we knew they would. And then just the meta humor is just top tier. And it just keeps you rolling. The humor in these movies is definitely really good.
And if you know Ryan Reynolds and his movies, he's all about certain musics that are incorporated, songs that are incorporated with his Deadpool movies, and I feel like he always does the best when picking out his soundtracks. This movie had a great effing soundtrack right from the first 10 minutes to the end of the movie. Great soundtrack all the way around.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of Guardians of the Galaxy, how like every song after song was just a banger, and that definitely helps a movie do good in the box office. And it had some pretty good songs. Lots of Madonna. Lots of Madonna. I also like the fact that they got the Humane Society, the Animal Humane Society, incorporated into this film, which I thought was kind of cool too. Yeah, so we got the action, we got the comedy, we got the great soundtrack. Austin, how would you rank all three Deadpool franchises, from 1 being the best to 3 being the worst in your opinion?
I think 3 was the best so far.
3 was the best for you?
Yeah, I think so.
2 was really good. 3 was the best, only because of Wolverine being in the mix.
So you'd say 3, 2, 1?
Yes,
yeah, 3, 2, 1.
I think
for
so.
Sure.
Okay, I have it a little flipped. I have to put 1 as number 1 because it was like the first Disney movie we had coming out that was actually like, I mean, it wasn't Disney at the time, but like it was one of the first superhero movies that you see that the character is just like talking shit and just making like all these meta jokes and everything. And Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool, so that was just like fantastic casting, and it set up our expectations for this entire world. So I gotta put Deadpool 1 as number 1. Deadpool 2, solid story, but to me it just kind of didn't have the appeal as the first one. And I haven't watched it in a while, so I have to go back and watch it and figure out why that is. But I'm gonna rank Deadpool 2 as last and Deadpool 3 as second. So I got 1, 3, 2 in that order. But those are gonna be our spoiler-free reviews. Now, if you have watched the movie, you want to get into the good stuff, the juicy, good, as some people would call it.
No cap.
No cap, as the kids would say. No capillaries. We're gonna dive into the spoiler talk. So if you have not seen the movie, go ahead and stop listening to this because for everything from here on out is going to be spoilers. We're giving you a countdown. We're gonna say 3, 2, 1. All right, let's spoil it. Let's get into spoilers, guys. Okay, Ash, I know you want to talk about a certain character.
Which one? Are you talking about Mary Poppers?
No, you.
Oh my god, I'm sorry, but Mary Poppers was like my favorite character out of all of them because it was a dog from the Humane Society, and his face was all jacked up, and the tongue was all out. And even Ryan Reynolds said that this dog, they had to do so many takes, including putting salmon paste down his throat for this dog to lick him. And I saw outtakes about that. That was hilarious. The fact that Blake Lively was Lady Deadpool, and which people don't know, that she was pregnant while in her suit, and she still looked good. And also, I know Blade, that was kind of cool. But what I thought was interesting is even when Ryan Reynolds and Blade, they had that movie together back when the Attack Pomeranian thing, like, they didn't have chemistry on set like him and Hugh Jackman do. Even when they did Deadpool 3, Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds still had beef, and they had to do a lot of the Blade scenes that you would see in the movie. They had to do a stand-in for Wesley Snipes because that Wesley wouldn't come out of his trailer because him and Reynolds had beef, which I thought was kind of like drama ridden. And they had to pay Wesley Snipes a lot of money just to make this cameo because he don't like Ryan Reynolds for shit. But I also thought it was cool as Channing Tatum to see as Gambit, because what people don't know, Gambit was supposed to be a movie back in 2014, but because of scheduling issues and creative differences between, what's his name? The guy who played Gambit in the movie. Channing Tatum had creative differences with the producer and the director, so Gambit was never made, but to see that as a cameo, that was kind of cool. I think he did a good job as Gambit. But Elektra also made a cameo, which I thought was actually cool.
Yeah, so we had great cameos from characters that we didn't expect. Like, when the movie was coming out, I would see, like, that, this character's going to reprise this role as Sabretooth. And I did see something saying Jennifer Garner was going to return as Elektra, so that was a little spoily, so that kind of sucked to see before the movie came out. But it was really cool to see freaking Blade, Wesley Snipes, in the movie as himself, and it's just like I did not expect that, so that actually like blew my mind. And throughout the whole movie, I feel like you're getting cameo after cameo after cameo.
Yeah,
and
Chris Evans was
in this movie.
Flame Boy, whatever his name was.
Human Torch.
Human Torch. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so that scene was hilarious. He comes out, he has like the blue on his arm, and everyone thinks that he's Captain America, and there's even a joke that's saying that he's gonna say like Avengers Assemble, and he says flame on, and just like turns into Johnny Torch, and it was like, what? Like the crowd was going wild in the theater.
I feel like, Richard, your favorite cameo though was the Man of Steel himself as Wolverine.
Henry Cavill. Yeah,
smoking a cigar, because he didn't really get a whole lot of hype as Superman. Like him being the Man of Steel was kind of a flop, but to see him come back as Wolverine instead of like being the Man of Steel, he had steel claws. That was kind of cool. That was actually hot.
See, and that's the thing. Like, I thought Man of Steel was very underrated. I can't stand Superman. I think he's one of the most overrated characters in the world. But Man of Steel I did actually enjoy, and to see like him forced to kill Zod at the end of the movie, that was actually, I really enjoyed that. But that's getting off topic here. Yeah, Henry Cavill. We got to see Henry Cavill as Wolverine, and you know that scene in it's that Tom Cruise movie, Mission Impossible. That scene in Mission Impossible where Henry Cavill's in there and he like does the ready thing and then starts punching.
Yeah.
I feel like he did that as Wolverine here. He like pushed his arms down
Easter
to
egg.
like extend his claws and then went to go attack Deadpool. I'm here for it. I love Henry Cavill. So that was a cool cameo. Austin, what about you? What do you think? Full review, spoilers included.
The both the fight scenes and with Wolverine and Deadpool were extremely amazing. It showed how deadly those two can be fighting each other. Yeah, you can tell deep down that they tried their hardest to kill each other and they just couldn't, no matter what they try to do. And seeing the cameos in the movie was awesome. Human Torch was top notch. I wasn't expecting that. Gambit was okay. I thought it was a little silly for him to be Gambit. Now his character in action was very great, but him and his personality was just throwing me off, and I just couldn't get into it. But as far as him being in action, it was very great, because that's who Gambit was. I mean, even seeing him in X-Men Origins Wolverine, you know, he only does one move and that's it in the entire movie. He doesn't do a whole lot of stuff in the movie, and you get to see more of that in Deadpool. I thought it was silly seeing the original Juggernaut come into play. I never liked the original Juggernaut. He was too short and too small. Very muscular, but he was not the Juggernaut I was hoping when I first watched X-Men 3. And so when I saw him again, I was like, oh, okay.
It's like the Juggernaut in Deadpool 2 didn't have his steroids for the third Deadpool. He was a bit shrimpy.
Yeah, and he felt kind of nerfed in this one too, because his death just seemed like, would that really happen to Juggernaut in real life?
No, I don't think so. No,
I don't think so either.
No.
But we're in the void. We're basically in the recycling bin of the MCU at this point. So they're kind of like, I feel like these are characters, except for the main antagonist, Cassandra Nova, are characters that are kind of just like, well, we have them, we can use them as like fight fodder or like bait and stuff like that. So I think that's why him and like Sabretooth gets handled like immediately. Like his cameo lasts like 15 seconds. That was surprising to see, as I was kind of getting hyped for this like rematch. I mean, he never was as good as Wolverine in the original like X-Men. I don't
think so.
But like in the comics, him and like Sabretooth would go back and forth with each other, because like Sabretooth also had adamantium, but they were in his fingernails, like they were his claws. So they were like seemed like evenly matched in the comics, and then in this movie they were not evenly matched at all. They were like, it was S tier versus F tier.
Did anybody pick up on the Jennifer Gardner when Elektra first made her appearance? Or like, well, sorry, but Daredevil didn't make it, who was played by Ben Affleck, her now ex-husband. So she was like, oh, that's okay, I'm not even worried about it, because that was like an Easter egg to me, and I'm like, oh, like that was a good one. There was so many Easter eggs in this movie, so many of them to even count. But my favorite character is Blind Owl. She's like my favorite, because she's like, I may be blind, but I can sure as fuck smell cocaine from a mile away. Like, I'm Jones in here. So that was kind of cool to see, like, Blind Owl make a cameo also.
Now, what about all the different Wolverines we get to see?
Oh, like the
different universes that Deadpool goes to.
Yeah, that was cool to see. We got to see like different variants of Wolverine, which again, I just feel like it's a huge payoff to the X-Men like universe fandom. Like we got to see I'm not that comic book knowledgeable about them, but I know the characters. We got to see the one-handed Wolverine. That's from, I think, a future universe where he only has one hand, and his other hand is just like metal. We got to see one of my personal favorites, just from the comic book itself, was Patch Wolverine, which is, he's known for wearing a eye patch in as a disguise, and he's usually wearing like a white tuxedo. That one, I believe there's a comic cover with him and the Hulk, as the Hulk was also wearing that white suit.
There also was Tiny Wolverine on the bar stool.
Yes, we got
which is
comic
from
book accurate
Yeah.
Wolverine, which I feel like he's a little bit smaller than comic book accurate. He was like 4'8", it seemed like, because they said he was like 5'2", but I don't know. It looked really awkward. It was like that kind of Sonic move where they created Sonic and everyone was like, "No, we shouldn't do this. That should die immediately." It felt like that. It was just very, very CGI'd and very awkward, but it's there for like the payoff of the why don't we just get Wolverine regular size? Hugh Jackman's too tall. They got to pay off those. Yes, all the
different
Wolverine
even the
cameos.
drunk ones, that was just like the worst mistake because he betrayed his fellow X-Men.
Yeah, and that's the one we're dealing with this whole movie. It doesn't say the Wolverine that you know and love from like the original X-Men movies and the Logan movies. He is actually still dead, and they use his skeleton in the beginning of the movie, which is kind of funny. So it's still like he's helping, but he's not really there.
Yeah. So another Easter egg was the beginning of the movie. You see Ryan Reynolds or Deadpool start digging up Wolverine's skeleton and just talking to it. Ryan Reynolds said the reason why that scene was important was because of the fact that he was making a dig from the 2017 Wolverine that was a complete crap fest, he said. So that was him like digging it up, and we're just going to make it better. We're going to go back into, we're going to build off of 2017 Wolverine till now and just make him better. And the fact that he did bye 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 in the whole sequence in the beginning of the movie was cool. First 10 minutes, it's hilarious.
Yeah, we get an opening Backstreet Boys dance choreographed sequence with violence. You can never go wrong with those.
The neat thing too is when them two fight, when they're not shy with the blood and gore that goes in mixed with the movie, it really brings out the how Wolverine truly is and how deadly that man can be, in the movies. So them not being shy on showing that that's the Wolverine that everyone's been dying to see for years and years. Because I felt like 20th Century Fox they weren't shy on using him, but they were easy on the blood. So them putting that in was amazing.
Yeah, like I feel like Wolverine was hit or miss in the past, but like Hugh Jackman's always done a great job. Like I've never had a problem with Hugh Jackman.
He's always been Wolverine as long as you can remember. There's never been a movie where they kept switching up Wolverine for different people. It's always been Hugh Jackman, always.
Well, that's what's weird is that a surprising thing is that they didn't bring in Daniel Radcliffe, because it was rumored that he was supposed to be the new Wolverine. So I actually was paying attention to see if Daniel Radcliffe was going to be as a cameo for a different version of a Wolverine, a different variant, but they never showed it. So I wonder what ended up happening with that.
Daniel Radcliffe just needs to stay in the Wizarding World and leave Wolverine to Hugh Jackman, the real man.
It was confirmed that he was supposed to be a Wolverine. Daniel Radcliffe confirmed it.
Yeah, and then there was like talks of like Zac Efron coming, because they did want to replace Hugh Jackman, and there's jokes in this movie that he's going to be like holding onto the mantle till he's 90. And
yeah,
Old Man Logan is a popular comic, so
yeah.
But I will say, like, but regardless of like, I'm speaking specifically about X-Men Origins, how that movie was terrible, but Hugh Jackman's performance in that movie still solid, still carried the movie. So, like, I thought they did a really good job with Logan, like, ending his story there. But then, like, then we get to see the actual, like, comic book accurate, the mouth of Wolverine authentically on the screen. And it's cool to see Hugh Jackman in this way, because you're like, oh, shit, this guy knows how to cuss. Like, obviously, in other movies, he cusses. But as Wolverine, you don't ever see it, because they're always, like, PG-13 or PG or whatever. So that was a cool
And surprisingly, Hugh Jackman, for being almost 56 years old, looks good.
Yeah, and that was a joke. Another Ryan Reynolds meta joke was saying that he must have let himself go after the divorce, because him and his real life wife just got divorced. So that's like these kind of jabs at each other are like
hilarious.
Yeah.
The fact that he did, like I said, a lot of millennial shout outs in Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds did, like, he talked about Pokey from My Little Pony. He talked, like, just his music alone was very millennial-esque. The fact that he did a lot of references to Gossip Girl, and yeah, that was just some of the millennial references.
That poor Ford.
The car fight scene. He just looks over. I'm gonna fight you now.
Dirty Mike and the boys. Yeah.
And that jab, immediately after he said that, Wolverine kind of just like says like, "Oh, okay, whatever," and then just Deadpool just goes in with the punch, and I was like, "Oh, it's over. It's gonna."
And the fact that they kept hitting the radio while they're fighting, and the music kept changing, that was a cool like thing.
Yeah, a cool little like cinematic journey that they can take you on without forcefully changing the music and making things like, wait, why did the music change? They can actually do things like that and change it up and give you different moods throughout the fight.
I have a feeling there's gonna be more movies that's gonna involve them directly. But I have a feeling that they're still going to be fighting each other every now and then throughout any other movies that they're going to be involved in. Because they both just annoy each other so much to where they just have to fight each other. Because they know they can't die from each other.
Yeah, and like once you stab the person like 30 times, you probably don't hate them as much. Or maybe because they keep coming back, you probably hate them even more. I don't know. But yeah, the dynamic between them two is hilarious. And it's just like... You're just waiting for a pin to drop before they both start like fighting each other again.
Oh yeah.
And so like my spoiler review will be that I thought it was great. Again, I thought it paid huge tribute to fans of like the Marvel franchise, the 20th Century Fox Marvel, the Sony universe. Not a lot of Spider-Man jokes in this one, but there was one specific part that was just like a minor, like he was using like the whipping sound while doing his hands while they're driving. But that was
also see like Ant-Man like skeleton like
blown
up,
the trailer.
And the fact that Ryan Reynolds like, oh look, Paul Rudd finally aged, like they'll like get in little Easter eggs. But stay tuned till like after the credits and during the credits, because they do a huge like tribute to all of the MCU that once were, like Ian McKellen, who was Magneto for a very long time, and certain characters that are not alive anymore. They did tributes to those, and they went back to like the very first X-Men, the very first anything till now. That was kind of cool to like go back in time.
Anything that was 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, they went back in time and did like a tribute to them, like during the credits, and then post credit there is a scene. So don't leave the theater just yet. You'll thank us for that.
Yeah, and it like during that end sequence too, they were playing like it sounded like graduation songs, so I kind of got it like in the feels a little bit. But yeah, I thought the movie was great. I loved seeing like my favorite. I mean, there was many cameos that I loved, but my personal favorite character that I'm glad to see back is Ray Park as Toad. I freaking love Toad. Yeah. I thought his character, like, he was never known for being like a badass like character or villain, but he always seemed so cool to me. But he's always been so weak, and like Storm just got like dispatched of him so easily. And again, he doesn't have many lines in this one. It looks like it is Ray Park has returned as Toad, so that's very cool to see. But him fighting Blade is not something that I saw that I never knew that I always wanted to see until I saw it on the theater and at the theater, and I was just I felt good. It was my inner child was very happy in that moment, and it was very enjoyable to me.
Ray Park was definitely a perfect person to be Toad. He was perfect in the beginning for X-Men 1, and then seeing him come back for this one, it was no one else can replace Ray Park as Toad.
Yeah.
I was also cool to see Happy. This like took place before like Happy tragically got killed, but this like it went back in time. Like Happy was alive for a brief second to tell Deadpool, "You're not good enough to be a Marvel, or an Avenger. Go away." So we got to see Happy for a minute. We got to see Thor for a minute. And why was Deadpool crying? We never found out why Deadpool was crying in Thor's arms. Like, we never found out that out.
No, Thor was crying.
No, Thor was crying.
Thor was crying, and Deadpool was just there. And, like, what happened? We don't know.
Like, they didn't mention that it was another, was it in the future?
Another timeline.
Another timeline in the future.
Timeline.
And it looked like Deadpool was dying on Thor's arms, and Thor was crying. So, maybe something in the future will happen.
I mean, there is a new Thor movie coming out.
Yeah.
Thor Hercules.
I also feel like the most underrated character that kind of pulled it all together was Rob Delaney's character who played Peter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I heard that someone got, like, their nipples pierced. I got attached on. Then you see him at the end of the movie he's the one with the nipples pierced. And then he invites, like, the head TVA person on a date. So I was like, okay, Peter, I see you. Like, you didn't save the day and got a date.
Peter's always been perfect for Deadpool.
Yeah, I liked Peter.
I've always liked him when they first introduced him. Was it Deadpool 2 when they first introduced Peter?
Mm-hmm.
Peter was amazing. I never disliked that character, even though he has no powers whatsoever. He's just a normal person that wanted to join Deadpool's team.
Yeah.
Supposedly, T.J. Miller was also in the film, but it doesn't say what he was. It's speculated that T.J. Miller was also a TVA agent, along with Rob McElhenney,
Henry,
yeah.
Mac from It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, so I feel like T.J. Miller was also a TVA agent, which was kind of cool.
Well, T.J. Miller was he was the guy in the chair, so to speak, with Deadpool 1 and 2. But I know he's been having some like issues going on in real life, so I don't know where he was at in this. He might have been in the flashback because he was heavily involved in the first 2 Deadpool movies, but I really didn't see him that much in this one. But the basic story for this, and then we'll get into some key points so we can kind of focus in on the things that we do want to talk about. It's a great like film about characters who have been like dismissed or thrown away and brought back for like a redemption arc. Like we see characters like Blade and Elektra that we think, oh, okay, they're strong, but they're not MCU strong. Well, now we see these characters easily dismantle. I mean, I guess they're 20th Century Fox villains, but come in and just destroy these characters and like fight really well. And it's weird to see as an adult because as an like. I don't know, it's just weird to see because you wouldn't expect these power levels to be similar because they're different universes. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
I felt like they were underpowered in the 20th Century Fox versions, you know, because it was PG-13, they couldn't show they couldn't show their true potential of how powerful these different heroes and villains were. And then see them in the MCU, there's no limit.
Yeah.
So they want them, I think MCU wants to aim to be comic book accurate of how strong these characters can be, and when they show them off in that way, it really brings out how amazing these characters are supposed to be.
T.J. Miller was actually the bartender in the first 2 Deadpools.
Yeah.
So he did show him for a brief second as a bartender, but they wouldn't show him like for like a minute, more than a minute, because he's publicly facing right now.
Yeah, I figured he's going through some stuff right now.
Yeah. But he also said that after Deadpool 3, he will never work with Ryan Reynolds again. I don't know if there's beef there or what's going on, but I just saw the controversy online.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of beef. They like don't like each other right now. But anyways, so yeah, it was just a great tribute to see characters being revived and set up for this potential new role in this bigger universe. Actually, I don't think they're going to get a new role, but it's kind of just like saying goodbye to their characters for the last time. But you never know what's going to happen after seeing like this, how this movie will do in the box office. We could see more of these characters.
There needs to be a Gambit movie by itself.
Yeah, so okay, we can jump into the key points now. One of my key points was I thought Gambit was stupid. I love Gambit. I absolutely love Gambit. He's one of my favorite comic book characters. But seeing Channing Tatum in that costume, barely looking like he can barely move, similar to Michael Keaton's Batman, it just looks so weird. And then hearing him talk, it's like, you know, they're all having fun and joking around with it, but to me, it feels like he's having fun, but then he's also trying to be serious. And it sounds terrible to me, but that's my only gripe. It's not a huge deal.
His French Louisiana accent was not that great. It sounded like Channing Tatum was going back to 22nd Jump Street with "My name is Jeff." That's what it kind of sounded like. If you're not familiar, like that's it. He supposedly was told Ryan Reynolds that he can do the best Louisiana accent. It wasn't that great. I mean, he looked good. And he made things go boom with his playing cards, but that was about... okay, I'm going to end it with that.
Yeah, his powers were great, but the actor playing as that character, I don't think it was a wise choice. I think they could have done better. Mm-hmm. There's nothing against Tatum. He's a wonderful actor. I love him. He's a great comedy actor. But other than that, his role as Gambit was just kind of in my opinion. So that's my honest opinion on that one.
Yeah, I think in that situation where we got the comic book, or we got the cameo of, for instance, John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, where it was kind of this thing that everyone wanted to see, and they told us we weren't going to get it, and then we got it, and we're like, oh shit, that was as great as we thought it was. That was S tier for me. Like, seeing John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic and then just get spaghettified, that was top tier. Seeing Channing Tatum as Gambit, that was like a D to F for me. But again, I love seeing him fight. Like, his powers were cool, and once he actually fought, it was like, okay, this guy can actually, like, he's badass. So I will give him that. I'm just being a hater on his character. It just seemed like...
You know, there had to be like a million bloopers during all, like, when Gambit and Deadpool are talking, there had to be a million bloopers when it came to that.
I'm sure there will be outtakes once they release it on Disney Plus.
Yep. So that's gonna be our first point, talking about some of the cameos. Who was your favorite cameo, Austin?
My favorite cameo that came in, it's a mixture between Blade and the Human Torch.
Yeah, those were like,
because Human Torch was the icon of one of the icons of 20th Century Fox Marvel movies. You know, it was Chris Evans back then, and Chris Evans wasn't even this buff dude yet. You know, he was a very fit guy, but he wasn't muscular. You know, he was just fit, and seeing him as a Human Torch at that time, you know, everyone wanted to see the Human Torch when Fantastic Four always came out, with the original and the sequel, and then seeing him in this one was great. I did feel like he was a bit nerfed.
Yeah.
He was really nerfed against Pyro, so I was a bit disappointed with that. His death was funny.
Yeah.
It wasn't disappointment, but it was hilarious because it was something that no one expected. It's like, oh, okay, he's dead now. Oh God, he's disintegrating.
I love the fact they brought Yukio back. I love Yukio. He's like, hi, Yukio. He's like, everybody can fuck off next for you, Yukio. Hi, Yukio. Hi. Like, hi, Wade. Like, that was cool. Like, I'm glad they kept Yukio also. That shows his softer side.
Yeah, and it's funny to see, like, all the Deadpool characters, like, place Peter on top of a pedestal, too. And I wonder if they all have, like, a Yukio that they all have, like, on a pedestal, too. Because it seems like all the Deadpool characters have a Peter. Like, that's their guy in the chair. And they just, like, once they saw, like, the real-life Peter, like, oh, it's Peter. Like, he was, like, a celebrity to them. So
yeah.
That was funny to see.
I love the fact that one of the Deadpools was very feminist. Ryan Reynolds as a feminist with long hair, you know, dairy-free options, had Mrs.
Nice Pool.
Yeah, Nice Pool, had Mary Puppers, you know, like, and then it was kind of cool seeing the feminists get killed.
The most friendliest Deadpool it does not regenerate compared to the other Deadpools that you get to see in the movie. So seeing Nice Pool's death was sad, but it was also nice.
Well, nice
because it wasn't a horrible death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah, and I think my favorite, again, I'm just gonna go back to, I already knew it was happening from the trailer. Like, you could see him standing in the background, but Ray Park as Toad, reprising his role as Toad, and even, I don't know his name, I should have looked it up beforehand, but the guy who played Sabretooth, him coming back too, that was that was cool to see, even though he lasted like 15 seconds. But it just felt like a Dragon Ball Z fighting game where you just have all these random characters, and some of them aren't strong, but you have them there just for like the nostalgia of the character.
Right.
But let's get into our next point. Cassandra Nova, the villain who we have yet to talk about this entire review.
We're getting to that.
What do you guys think about Cassandra Nova?
She could pull off a bald head. I mean, if you didn't know that she was like Charles Xavier's sister by the bald head, you weren't gonna get it. You know, it's gonna go right over your head, literally. But she played a really good villain. The villain, I feel like itself she was very cocky. She wanted the world and everything in it, but couldn't handle it. Honestly, couldn't handle like the power of it all. So I thought that was cool. She did a remarkable job, like playing the villain and all that.
Yeah, like the actual actress was fantastic, and yeah, I will admit she did pull the hell out of that bald head off.
The fact that she could the villain herself, the fact that she could just put her finger in your brain and just read you like a book, that was a cool, like, gift. And she's like, let me just tickle your eyeball and your brain a little bit. That's creepy as heck. Like, don't put your fingers in my eyeball sockets, okay?
Yeah, it's funny because, like, it's Charles Xavier's sister, and they both can read minds, but Cassandra Nova can only read minds by going in with her hand and actually, like, rummaging through your brain. So it's, like, it's cool to see these characters have the same power, but just different takes on them, and hers is, like, a lot more creepier, but it looks so badass when she's doing it. Austin, what do you think about Cassandra Nova?
I think she was great. I didn't really, like, know about Cassandra Nova in the comics. I knew of her, but I never, like, read about her or anything, so it was a little bit new to me. Understanding who Cassandra Nova was. Like I said, I've always heard about her, but never read up. But seeing the role, what she did in the movie was spot on. I definitely was not disappointed at her being the main antagonist in the entire movie. No disappointments there.
I liked how when she tried to go inside everybody's brain, she was successful. But she goes inside Logan's brain, and there's nothing. There's nothing to see. There's, like, he's pretty much black and white. You literally just, like, she's like, there's not very much to explore in here, and I can't get a read on you. He's like, because there's really nothing to explore. I have nothing. I am nothing. Like, the only bad thing I did was, like, to the X-Men, but that's pretty much it. Like, so she couldn't really get to Logan like she wanted.
Well, Logan already accepted his fate. What all the mistakes that he made, it made him sad when he gets reminded of it. But he's, in my opinion, like, accepted that fate that he made, and he's already disciplined himself for it. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, it kind of feels like one of those, like, you can't tear me down because I'm already doing the better job at that.
Yeah.
Moments. I will say, like, I absolutely loved Cassandra Nova. Like, again, with all these Marvel movies, it seems like the villain has to have the power to destroy multiple planets or multiple multiverses or like the consequences are just so dire now, where every villain has, like, planet altering powers. And again, we get that with Cassandra Nova, as, like, throughout the movie she just looks like a so much better, like, stronger character than anyone else around her, and she's shows us that by just clicking her fingers, and then, like, Human Torch's skin just removes from his body, so we can tell how strong this character is. And it kind of sets up for this ending where you're like, damn, how are these, like, two really good characters but not stronger than her, because she has the power of, like, telekinesis, how are they gonna beat her? And they go kind of, this is my only complaint about the movie, they go off on the, well, let's just do it where we're not really fighting her, and the character ends up, like, not being able to handle the full power and basically implodes on themselves, which, again, is my only complaint. I feel like we see this a lot with characters, whether it be, like, King the Conqueror, which Cassandra Nova in this movie seemed to me way stronger than King has ever been perceived in any of the movies. And I know we were just, like, setting up the early, like, remnants of him, but this character seems so OP, and it kind of sucked to see her die by
the power of friendship.
Yeah, the power
basically
of friendship and coming
together. They did that with Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. The power of friendship mixed with the Power Stone. That's the only way they killed, what's his name? Is it Ronan?
Oh, Ronan the Accuser?
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, that was hilarious because you get, like, a dance battle, and it's like, to one, it's like, oh, you guys are a joke, but he's just distracting them to, like, actually come through with the real process. This one is just like, oh, I can't handle the power, so I'm going to spaghettify, because they reverse the power on me. I don't know. That's my only complaint. I just loved her as a character, so it kind of sucked to see her just, like, die that easily. And then, of course, you get the two heroes walking out like nothing ever happened. So that's my only
they
gripe.
built the bridge as a conduit so they could stop her and just, because she needed to die, because if she would have succeeded, there would be nothing left. She would have killed every single timeline, every branch of a timeline, everything. So, yeah, the heroes had to win this time.
Well, they always have to win. Like, it just felt like the ending of Ant-Man, where it was just, I mean, it wasn't as bad as that one, because this one was a lot better, but Ant-Man Quantumania, where they just, like, easily got rid of Kang, and then Ant-Man, who was supposed to be trapped in this quantum realm, now is free, like, all of a sudden, because, oh, hey, we can do this now. I don't know, it's just, the writing for me is just kind of, but at the same time, her motivation for now wanting to, like, destroy the multiverse comes out of left field, because it's just like, oh, hey, you said you weren't going to bother me, now here you are bothering me, so I'm going to destroy the world. And I get it, like, if you're that powerful, sometimes it can be, like, the smallest things that make you
blow up and
twist
explode.
direction. Yeah, but that just seemed kind of like one of those, hey, we need to give her a reason. What about she's annoyed? Yeah, let's do that. So that's Cassandra Nova. That's our opinions on Cassandra Nova.
I feel like her reason was because her brother Charles was so wanted and accepted, and she was just basically thrown into the void for no fucking reason because of Charles. And I also feel like she wants to portray, like, oh, it was no reason. Charles just threw me away. Charles threw you away because you're evil. Because you wanted to use your power for evil. And he wanted to do it for good. Hence, he did the whole X-Men. And at the end, when she's like, Charles really did love you. And that's when you see him like, yes, he was a father to all of us. We all loved him. Then she gets it. Then she's like, you know what? I have something. I killed Doctor Strange. And I have his little circle opener thingy, and we're just gonna open this portal and you guys have to go out. Like, I feel like she had a change of heart until she realized, wait, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I really want this now. So you see her going up and down, up and down.
Yeah, and that's why I think Emma Corrin was the actress's name that played her. I think she did a great job. She was one of those villains that is similar to, like, Thrawn, where you first, like, look at them and you're like, this person's not that, like, evil. And they even have... Well, Thrawn is not probably the best example because I'm not that.
I don't think she was evil. I think she was just misunderstood and, like.
No, Thrawn's a good example because Thrawn comes going way off topic. Now we're on topic of Star Wars here. Thrawn was he comes out and talks to his allies with calm and respect and dignity, but his mindset is to conquer the galaxy, to be the new emperor. He is extremely one of the most evil and best strategic villains in Star Wars. So don't let his kindness fool you. He is pure evil, and all he cares about is ruling the galaxy in his image.
Yeah, and that's why I thought she did a great job. Like, she is playful in this movie where you're like, oh, maybe she's not that bad. And then she clicks her fingers and then someone's skin is removed from the body. Like, even the conversation with her and Pyro where Pyro is like, oh, I'll just tell you, you don't have to put your hands in my head. It's so creepy. Like, she looks so, like, genuinely embarrassed. You're like, oh, maybe this character isn't that bad. Then she snaps the same character's neck, like, moments later. So yeah. I thought she did a great job. I love villains like that where you kind of sympathize with them and maybe think like, oh, this character's not that bad, and then they step on a puppy and you're like, oh shit, this person is genuinely evil.
Yeah.
So the reason why she is according to the comics, Charles Xavier sent her to the void, kind of like her purgatory, because she is a very high level telepathic person, a psychic, and not just on the planet but like in the world. And I feel like Charles felt like she was going to use her powers for evil, and that's why he sent her to the void, and she was just there until she was let out. And then she wants to destroy things. Because she's like, maybe I'm not evil, maybe I am evil. But then you realize, okay, yeah, you are evil. You're evil, and you know that. So, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I love this character. I love the actress's portrayance of her. I would prefer her over King. Like, this character is fun for me. This character is someone that I would love to see more of, and it's like, kudos to them. I was also someone that did not know who Cassandra Nova was, and after the trailer I had to like Google it. I did not even know Charles Xavier had a sister, so to see like someone with his level of power, potentially even more, come out and is like, I thought it was like top tier. That was just great decision making to bring that.
It also
out.
said like she started acting maniacal towards Xavier when he started building the
Cerebro.
When he started building Cerebro and the X-Men Academy, she started getting maniacal, and that's when he sent her to the void. And that's where she remained until these people came. And it's kind of cool to see how everybody, even the most powerfulest people in the void are terrified of this eensy-weensy little girl who's, just there. And we're so afraid of her, and they'll do whatever she says. But then, these people come like, you guys don't have to be afraid of her. Like, and that's when you see it, like, an uproar. People start going against her. People start realizing some stuff.
Yep, and that's going to be our, that's... You guys got anything else on Cassandra Nova?
I think that's what, when the uprising started, I think that's what became her downfall.
Well, it looked like her downfall was just being too powerful that she needed to get her powers.
I feel like her absolute true downfall was using Doctor Strange's ring and opening up the portal for them and letting them go. She could have killed them right then and there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where it's just like, well, we got the plot armor in that situation. But next key point that we can talk about. People talk about, like, throughout this movie, you hear Ryan Reynolds saying that he's Marvel Jesus and he's the one, he's the Messiah to save the MCU. I think it's Tom Hiddleston's Loki, because we've gotten many situations around the TVA, many situations about branched timelines, and that pays off to be a huge part of this plot where the main, I guess, the first antagonist is one of the guys that's in charge at the TVA, and he's basically wants to explode the timelines because he's tired of working with the TVA, blah, blah, blah. And it's cool to see, like, a TV show have so much depth inside other movies. And, like, this movie feels like a episode of Loki with Deadpool and Wolverine and a 20th Century Fox, like, included in it. I mean, it doesn't, honestly, it really doesn't, but it kind of has that vibe on some scenes of it. Like, we're in the Void, it feels like we're in Loki again. Like, that's... And the Void is just such an amazing place where in Loki, it just seemed like this cool place that people go to die, and then we learn more about it, like, throughout the series. And then now it just seems like a recycle bin where Marvel can go back to just to, like, recycle old characters that they're not going to use, but they can get, like, cameos off of them and whatnot. So I kind of like that idea of it. But yeah, just we have another multiverse movie. What do you guys think about, like, Loki's influence on the MCU at the moment?
I feel like they're not going to end it there. I feel like they're going to continue it on. But I also don't feel like Ryan Reynolds was the Messiah.
Well, we also got Avengers getting announced, and
how they went into Loki, with the new Avengers talks about how they have to go ask Loki for help, pretty much. And Loki, like, it shows Loki, like, explaining, like, what his job is with the TVA is just making sure, like, the timelines are connected, but there are rules, he says. If you don't follow my rules, we're not going to get along. And I will help you, the Avengers, but, yes, I feel like you're right. I feel like Loki was the one who's holding it all together in timelines and stuff.
And Loki, that doesn't make Loki evil. It makes him neutral.
Yeah, he's, like, really come such a far way to that character. We don't get any cameos, unfortunately, in this one. I thought we would get, like, maybe, like, just a glimpse of him, like, holding the timelines together or something, but we do not get that. It's okay. Tom Hiddleston did great. We don't need to keep... I mean, I want to keep seeing it, but we don't need to keep seeing it. All right, a couple more things I have here, and then we can just get into our last points, because we're running up on 50 minutes on this one. Oof. But it's so easy to talk about. It's such a good movie. Kidpool, fun fact, Kidpool was actually played by Inez Reynolds, which is Ryan and Blake Lively's daughter.
That's cool.
Yeah, we got a little Kidpool action, and it was their daughter. Another fun fact, did Cowboy Deadpool's voice sound familiar to you guys?
Who was it?
We don't know.
All right.
No way.
Yep, Matthew McConaughey was Cowboy Deadpool.
That blows my mind. Fun fact, Blake Lively was actually pregnant in this movie, but she still looked bomb.
Yep, Blake Lively was preggo.
So you actually have 2 kids of theirs in this movie.
Yep, we got Henry Cavill as Wolverine, which is a cool thing to see. We got Channing Tatum as Gambit, which is another interesting thing to see.
Another interesting fact that I saw, I watched a lot of interviews before we did this podcast. Another thing that I saw is when they were shooting this movie, they were in some parts of Australia when they shot this movie during wintertime in those suits between 6 to 8 o'clock in the morning. So they were freezing in these suits. So when you see, like, they'll film something and then they'll stop, they're like literally wrapped with like heating blankets and put in their trailers. So then Hugh Jackman was like, I'm used to this weather, but he's not. He was freezing. You know, Ryan Reynolds was like, yeah, you can see my nips through my costume. So I think that was kind of cool also to see. I just feel like Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds have a good like cameo. They can work well together. They bring each other out.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds he's just charismatic. He does it with everyone. There's so many like characters that he just has good like back and forth with. That's what just makes him a great actor. But let's get to the final points on this one. I'm just gonna ask a couple of questions to y'all. How would you? Okay, let's see. How in the MCU would this movie be in your top 10 in the entire MCU, all the films?
Yes, I feel like it would be a staple. Not just from the movie itself, but I feel like the post credit where they went back and showed a lot of the people like Magneto who are not with us anymore. You kind of like if you wanted to see it, like I feel like Deadpool 3 can work as a time capsule if you really wanted it to. So I feel like yes, it would be a staple in my top 10.
What about you, Austin?
I think Deadpool and Wolverine will definitely be in the top 10 of my favorite MCU movies. It's not number one, but it'll definitely be in the top 10.
Oh, Infinity Wars is number one for me, like especially the fighting scene at the end.
So Infinity War is number one. Would you say?
Wait. Infinity War or Endgame?
Yeah.
Both.
Well, which one is it?
The one where like there's a fight scene, they did snap and everybody came back.
And
like post snap. Okay,
that's
so
Endgame.
Endgame is number one for me. Then Infinity Wars.
Okay, would you put Deadpool Wolverine over? So it's under Endgame. Would you put it over No Way Home? Spider-Man No Way Home?
No.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say I wouldn't put it over No Way Home. I think Spider-Man was better.
Okay.
Only because Spider-Man has always been my favorite movie. And then seeing the original variants come back into the Spider-Man movie was amazing, and I loved Dr. Octavius. He was one of my favorite villains besides the Green Goblin and Sandman. I thought it was awesome, and seeing that fight action where they both fight against each other, and he's throwing different vehicles and different construction obstacles at him was nice. So yeah, I think Spider-Man was definitely better in my opinion, and then fall along with Deadpool.
Okay. I definitely have Endgame as like probably number one, because that movie from after what happened with Infinity War, it was set up so well in years in advance that it was just like the payoff was fantastic. Watching it live, like in theaters, was a whole ass experience, and that's the reason we go to these movies like on the opening night. But I think it was better than No Way Home. I loved No Way Home, and I've always been more of a Spider-Man fan. Spider-Man and Batman are like my two favorite superheroes. But after seeing Deadpool Wolverine, like the way they handled bringing those characters back, it felt more natural than Spider-Man, which is weird to say because Spider-Man, there's like a hole in the multiverse and they're like appearing, which makes sense. And this one is just like, oh yeah, these are just like, I don't know, like I like the story more, I think, in No Way Home, but I think I like the execution of Deadpool Wolverine a little bit more. So this one's definitely in my top 10 as well. I think it beats No Way Home, but I do not think that it comes up to Endgame, but they're also like kind of different movies. Logan was also a really good. That's in my top 10.
Guardians of the
too.
Galaxy for me.
Yeah, Guardians is also.
Star-Lord. Why wasn't Star-Lord in this movie?
They really didn't have like a lot of newer MCU.
Yeah, did you know? Like it should have been.
Well, the focus was not with the new characters in the MCU universe.
It's like
They probably didn't want to like over.
In my opinion, if they would have involved any of the new MCU characters, it would have flopped massively. So they've already done enough of reintroducing all the 20th century Marvel characters, and I think that was good enough. And that's what made it perfect.
Yeah, I think if they would have like introduced like a newer character, I think they could have gotten away with it if it was like, I think the there was like a cameo in Deadpool 2 where like he was talking about the X-Men leaving, and they're like in the room behind him, and they like Scott closes the door. Like if it was just something like that where you just see like a A-list actor in the background, like Samuel Jackson, like maybe like scratching his eye or something like that. Like I thought maybe it would have worked like that, but I agree. Like if they would have featured one, it kind of would have just thrown away from the whole point of what this was. This seemed like a payoff tribute to the older
20th Century Fox. And
Yeah,
how
joining
a lot
them,
of like how they're joining the MCU now. Like they're graduating on up. Like you're getting called to home, little buddy. Like.
Well, I don't think they're gonna have them featured in it anymore. I think this was like the final goodbye of all the old school Marvel movies and their characters, but they got to be in the greatest movie franchise of all time, and really bring out their capabilities into the big screen. So if they were not to be involved in any of the future movies, I would gladly accept it because of how well it was done in this movie.
Like, just leave it alone. Don't try to work on it anymore.
Mm-hmm. And just reintroduce the new characters for MCU, for like Fantastic Four.
I feel like, I feel like there should not be another Magneto. Let that actor die with his character, and so on and so forth. Like,
well, if they introduce X-Men into MCU, they're gonna have new characters, but the only difference is Hugh Jackman. But the only acceptance with Hugh Jackman is it's a different variant of a different universe of Wolverine.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that people will accept from it. But other than that, if they introduced all the original characters like Storm, Toad, or not Toad, but Magneto, Professor Xavier, they'll probably have new actors or actresses for them to be in the MCU.
Yep, because that's I think that's what this movie is. It's basically a bridge for like 20th century to walk over to Marvel, and then like even Wesley Snipes made the joke that like, there'll only be one Blade, and like Ryan Reynolds looks at the camera because we already know that Mahershala Ali is like in the works as being Blade. I don't know, that one's been delayed a couple times, so I'm not sure where that one's at, but we do know there is a Blade reboot coming out. Yeah, that's X-Men, that's Wolverine. Yeah. So that's that's Deadpool Wolverine. Let's just get some last couple things on this one, and then we'll just let you guys go. We'll let you go. Austin, what was the worst thing about this movie?
The worst thing?
Like if you had to choose one thing that you would have changed from the movie.
Let me think about that. Circle back around to me.
Okay. Ash, worst thing.
I'm sorry. I hated Nice Deadpool. I hated the feminist Ryan Reynolds with the long hair. I fucking hated it.
I thought you said earlier you liked him.
No, I said I don't like him. I thought it was hilarious how he got killed and didn't get to regenerate. And I'm like, that's like, to me, it's like, because he was Nice Deadpool and he's the only one who didn't get to regenerate. Nice guys finish last, get it? So I'm just like, thank you for killing like Nice Deadpool. Yeah. I laughed when he didn't generate again, like everybody else did. But I also hated that there wasn't more of Blind Owl like there was in the other Deadpools. Yeah. Like, that was, like, the fun times that they did show her, she was hilarious, but I wish I would have saw more of Blind Owl, because I feel like this actress is not going to be alive for much longer. She's been having heart issues in the media lately. So I feel like y'all need to work more with Blind Owl while you have her, you know? Other than that, I hated Nice Deadpool. I hated feminist Ryan Reynolds, but I loved Gambit. I loved Gambit. I was laughing the entire time. Especially, he's like, I make things go boom. And then Ryan Reynolds was like, can you just let me know who's your dialectical coach? The one who taught you how to know English, because we need to talk, like me and your dialectical coach. So I thought that was kind of cool that they made a joke about that. I loved Gambit, though. I hated Wesley Snipes in this movie. I loved Blade, but if you really pay attention to Blade himself, you can tell that Wesley Snipes wore fake teeth while playing Blade. It did not look well, because he's aging, and the teeth I felt like were too bulky. They looked like they shoved chiclets in his mouth. I didn't like the way it looked. However, I loved everything else.
All right, Austin. Worst thing about the movie?
I was
Honestly,
gonna say Gambit.
yeah. Honestly, it was Gambit. Like I said, loved him in action, but I did not like his character. I thought it was silly.
Whatever.
And it's nothing disrespectful against Tatum at all. I love him as a comedic actor. He's great. I love him in a lot of different movies. I just felt like he just wasn't a good fit to play as Gambit as a character for the MCU. So yeah, I just wasn't a fan of it.
Yep, that was one of mine too. That was one of my biggest gripes. But it
Suck
wasn't like this movie was a 10 until the ending for me. My only gripe is how they handled Cassandra Nova, and they kind of just like, oh yeah, this character's too strong. We'll just have her overpower herself and just get her power sucked into the like spaghettify. And that was my only complaint. But at the same time, we were like, the movie was long at that point, and they probably didn't want to make it any longer. That's my only complaint. But other than that, it was a great movie. So that's not a big deal for me. It's just one of those things that you keep seeing that you're like, oh, I'm getting tired of this. But last words, Austin, what are your last thoughts on this movie? Like, if you had only this left to say, what would you say?
Well, definitely go watch it. If you haven't watched it yet, quit wasting your time. Because you're missing on a really, really good movie. It's amazing, action-packed, funny. I wish there was a post-credit scene that involved another movie being introduced, but instead it was just about a different topic, which I won't say anything about that. I'll leave that up to you guys to see yourselves. But other than that, yeah, watch the movie. Quit wasting your time.
All right, Ash, last thoughts?
I enjoyed Gambit. That's my last thought. But I think they could have did a better ending when it came with Cassandra Nova. I feel like, in my opinion, they should have had at some point Charles Xavier come into the movie and kind of try and talk like Cassandra Nova down from the ledge a little bit. That would have been kind of cool to see. Especially that part when, like, Wolverine is like, yeah, I love Charles Xavier. He was, like, my father. And then you would see him come into the void for some reason from another timeline. And that would have been kind of cool. But I don't like the way, like, they ended it with Cassandra Nova, like, blowing up. I didn't like that. But I did like how they became a bridge. And I did like how Madonna was played during that part. Like a prayer. Other than that, like, my last thought is y'all need to be, like, even though Deadpool 3 was great, do better in Deadpool 4. Just saying.
I don't know if there is going to be one. Seems like this might be the end.
Do you think that's why Ryan Reynolds, like, went all out in this one?
Yeah, probably. I
mean,
mean,
talk so much crap about
there'll
Disney.
definitely be cameos of him, I think, but I think this is probably the end of the franchise, unless they come out with like Deadpool's high school reunion or something like stupid like that. But my final thoughts on this movie, I thought it was really good. I think it's a great movie for us who grew up in like the 20th Century Fox cinematic universe. I think it plays great tribute to those characters and a lot of older characters. I think the movie was handled pretty well. I love the action. Absolutely love the action. Love the fight scenes between Deadpool and Wolverine. Obviously loved Hugh Jackman. I thought he did a great job. I loved the jokes against Disney. I love the jokes. I'm surprised Disney allowed a lot of these jokes, honestly, which is like working with Disney as a company. I am very surprised they allowed a lot of this stuff going on in this movie. But hey, it is what it is at this point.
Come on, The Bear has more cussing than this movie did, and it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, but it's barely on Disney Plus. It's on Hulu. But yeah, go watch this movie. I think it's a great time. I'm definitely probably gonna watch it again because it seems like one of those movies that you can enjoy like watching multiple times just to point out like the cameos and try and see
certain Easter eggs you didn't see the first time around. You can see them again. I absolutely love the soundtrack. The fact that they had Avril Lavigne. They had Madonna, they had NSYNC, they had a lot of good music in this movie. And especially, and saddens me because out here, it's like the popcorn buckets, like, go really fast.
Yeah.
So that would have been kind of cool to see, like, the popcorn bucket, the Wolverine one, And I did see that they did come out with like Xbox controllers that look like their butts. So I think that was kind of cool. Like there was just a lot of good marketing, good ad campaign when it came to this movie. Like they launched it the way it needed to be launched.
Yeah, and that's Ryan Reynolds. Like him running the helm as Deadpool has always been like so fantastic. And I feel like when you love something you do that much, you go above and beyond. And we've just seen him go above and beyond with like the marketing and just even the ads and all that and everything. He's had a busy year. He's had a busy year. But that is going to be it from us over here on this side. So thank you everyone for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode. I don't know what it's going to be because I'm still trying to figure everything out. I don't want to keep doing things over.
And donate to the American Humane Society, especially for Mrs. Peppers, who won the Ugliest Dog in the UK award this year. It's not nice, but yeah.
Yeah, so as always, thanks for stopping by, and hurry, the movie's starting. The podcast.